Hey guys, I've got a question for you. Do you want to know how to get your customers to buy what you want? Now hold that thought for a second. Do you even know that if they want what you have? You see, both of those questions are very important to consider when you're offering a product or when you're offering a service here. Now, I want to welcome you if it's now your first time to this show. It's called Hang Out with Marc. I want to thank you for joining. If you're a first-time viewer, thank you for coming on here. And you can go ahead and subscribe at www.marcgaudett.com to get updated each and every week on next week's show and the next week's guest. But if it isn't your first time, I want to thank you guys for making Hang Out with Marc a weekly habit. Because today's topic is going to be very important for everyone, especially if you're a newer business owner. You know, how to get your ideal customer to choose to buy what you have to sell is an important thing, because as businesses, we always need to be offering a product and service, and we need to be able to build a solid enough relationship where we can sell those products and services, where the customer trusts us, where they believe us and know that what we have to offer is going to provide the value that they're seeking. And who better to have on my show this week than the #1 men's relationship expert that I know here. His name is Scott DeStefanis. And him and I had a great conversation probably over a month ago preparing for this episode. And I thought he'd be perfect to speak on this episode because he has a wealth of experience, not just talking and working with business owners, but working with people in general, men specifically, and helping them build better relationships in their life, with their spouse, with their clients, and ultimately helping everything else in their life fall into place so that they can run a better business, so they can be a better person. And I want to thank you, Scott, for coming to the show today. And I just wanted to throw the voice right over to you and ask, tell us a little bit about your story and what got you started into, relationship coaching for men.
Yeah, well, the first thing I want to say is thanks for having me, Marc. This is pretty cool. So, but to just jump right in and answer your question, one of the things that really had me get started in this was, I had spent most of my 20s single, and single and knowing I wanted a relationship, but not actually knowing that I wanted a relationship. So once I actually got into a relationship, I thought kind of like the hard part was over. The work was done, because there's so much out there, and we're so conditioned to believe that kind of getting the girl or getting the relationship is the hard part. And little did I know that was actually going to be the easy part. Maintaining a relationship, I found, took way more work than actually getting into a relationship. So I had been involved in a number of personal development endeavors, and one of my last corporate positions was about recreating a new model for couples counseling. And so relationships was very much something that was kind of foundational for me, just probably in the last 10 years or so, coupled with my own development in my own romantic relationship. And the thing that struck me the most was how much better I felt about everything in my life, my business, my work, with my friends, when my relationship with my spouse was working. And my outlook would change significantly if we weren't, my spouse and I weren't getting along in any way, shape, or form. If we were in an argument, I felt that everything in my life would suffer as a result of that, which is kind of counterintuitive when you think about it, because, I think that for most men, in times of conflict with their partner, the kind of natural move might be to kind of take some space and seclude yourself a little bit, immerse yourself in business, immerse yourself with, friends or going out and, doing whatever. But that, me doing those behaviors only actually made me feel worse. And so, from there, I kind of once I figured that out and figured out that, hey, like once my relationship's working, my outlook on everything else is better. I just said, okay, well, every man has to learn this. You know, they need to be able to just navigate their relationship, have a relationship that supports them in what they're up to, and ultimately, you know, has them live happier and more purposeful lives.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Scott, because I think you hit on two very important points that kind of put on aha moments for me here. You know, one was this whole idea of, you know, it's easier to get into a relationship than it is to maintain it, right? Because once you get it, you have to now, you know, do everything that I guess fulfill on those promises, right?
Yeah, totally.
Right. If you think about it, you know, if you get a client in business and you get a new customer, great, someone signed up for my training program, someone signed up for my class. Well, now I have to deliver that service.
Totally.
And if I don't deliver that service, that relationship ends, especially if I don't meet those expectations. So you said that's very important.
Yeah.
And the other thing you said there that really I think will be important for everyone is the whole aspect of not having time, thinking that they're mutually exclusive. But reality is, if you have a solid relationship, not just with a partner, but solid relationships with your friends and your business colleagues and your customers, you know, that makes everything else that much easier and makes that flow continue to go. It's when we get out of that flow thinking I don't have time for these things, and we separate ourselves from those relationships, that things can often get worse. And so I wanted to ask you, Scott, specifically on that second comment, for every single entrepreneur that's thinking, I don't have time to build a relationship with a spouse, or I don't have time to build solid relationships with clients right now, I need sales, I just need the end result, you know, what would you say to them?
Well, I would say that, you know, in that regard, you know, if you're struggling, you know, in your relationship, if you're struggling getting customers, then I'd take a real hard look at the value that you're delivering, because chances are, you know, there's some aspect of it where you're over promising and under delivering. You know, especially in the thought leadership realm. You know, I think that's kind of a big problem where we all want to, you know, make claims. I mean, that's part of marketing, certainly, is you know, promising your customers a specific result. But you know, I found that if you have customers that
You there, Scott? Sorry, I cut off there for a bit. Can you say that part? If you have customers that looks like we're having the problem with Google Hangouts right now. Dun, dun. See if Scott can hear me. I guess not. So we'll just wait for a moment, guys, for the connection here at Google Hangouts to restabilize and see if we can get Scott back online and finish up what the response was to that question. And obviously keep asking some more so we can figure out how to build better relationships with not only those around us, but with our clients, so that we're able to get more, but at the same time, able to maintain more. Scott's going to try logging back in here.
Hey, sorry about that.
Hey, no problem. I think it's Google Hangouts might have had a little challenge there. I just told everyone that we'd wait for you to log back in there.
Yeah.
But cool. So, where it cut off for me was when you were answering that question, and you were talking about basically if, I kind of forget where you left off.
Well, give me the question again, and I'll answer it for you.
Sure. So the question was, as we were talking about, if someone is, from a relationship standpoint with a partner or with, their business colleagues or clients, if there's someone that's, looking for that end result and feels like they don't have time to really put in the effort to build that relationship and nurture it, what would you say to someone like that? And we left off where you were talking about value.
Yeah.
For me.
Cool. All right. So, in that regard, what I would say is, take a good look at the value that you're delivering. Okay. And the reason being is because, in this day and age, especially, nobody is going to forge a relationship with you, especially, inside of a business context and a customer acquisition context, if you're not delivering the value. There's a lot of people out there and a lot of businesses out there that, have a business model where, people want to take the steps to get the result. Personal training is probably a great example of this, where, people do sign up for personal training because they want to take the steps, right? It ultimately has a net positive effect, right? And where people tend to fall down is inside of delivering on the value. Okay, so there's a lot of personal trainers. I mean, my wife and I just were perfect examples of this. We used a personal trainer for the last couple months, and they made a lot of promises for things, and we took all the steps that they told us to take, and at the end of the day, we didn't get the result, and that's an unfortunate situation.
Yeah, I think that's important, right? Because, if you're building that relationship with someone, whether it's a significant other, whether it's a client, you need to set appropriate expectations, right?
Absolutely.
And yes, we want the clients, and yes, we want extra revenue and income from our business. But if we're delivering and giving false expectations, then that ultimately hurts us, not just with that client, but in referrals and in anything that's going to help us grow our business. So I'm seeing here a couple themes here. One is, when you get in a relationship, you need to now understand and look even further than that. What do you want for the long term of that relationship? What do you can you deliver on that? And once you've done that, then you need to continually deliver that value and set expectations and deliver on those expectations, so both parties know exactly what to expect and they're both happy. So those are the two things I've learned so far from you, Scott. And one of the things I wanted to transition into is ask you directly. You obviously work with a lot of people, and a lot of them are a lot of these males are business owners, right?
Yep.
And I wanted to just get an idea from you, like, what is that number one challenge that you find that comes up time and time again, if there is one, that most people need to deal with?
Yeah. So, for my customers in particular, the biggest challenge that they're facing is, they want to have a better relationship with their partner, which includes, more sex and less conflict. And at the same time, they don't want to have the rest of their life suffer because, relationships do take time. And time is our most precious resource that we have here, and there's limited amounts. It's certainly finite. So the biggest problem I think that my customers have is how to improve the relationship without devoting all this time to it. And the solution's actually a real simple one. A lot of the times it just takes a few simple tweaks here and there to have your partner feel appreciated and loved, and that you care for them, which could be as simple as an extra 15 or 20 minutes out of your day. And so for a lot of the men that I work with, that's like a novel solution to them. Something that they had never really considered before, that you don't have to, go out of your way and, order a huge, hot air balloon and, the 5-guy mariachi band to come and do this elaborate, date thing. Sometimes it's just a simple, text message in the middle of the day, right when you're in the middle of your work day, just to let your partner know that you're thinking about them and that you love them.
That's so valuable, Scott, because a lot of the times we think it's more complicated than it really is to build a relationship with someone and maintain a relationship and make it better. But the same thing with our business. We think, oh, I don't have time to do all of these, long conversations with clients. Well, it could be something as simple as sending an email from a Survey Monkey with 5 questions saying, what have you got the most value from on my emails so far? What would you like to see more of? What's your number one challenge? Any other comments you'd like to provide? Something as simple as that, which personalizes your relationship with them. Like, oh, wait, you want my input? You don't just want to keep throwing emails at me. You actually want to know what I value and where I'm at. That, is something simple that you could do in 5 to 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, depending. But once the questions are done, you can send that to all of your customers and see who's responding. Who are the people engaged? Who can I build a better relationship with?
Totally. The other thing I'll say about it as well is that, for those business owners that, are kind of, sales driven, they're in a place where, they feel like they need to, get more sales. Just taking the time out to nurture the relationship with your existing customers. I can't even remember the statistic, but in, service type businesses, most of your business is going to come from, referrals in the beginning, especially. And so making sure that you've built a strong, healthy relationship with your customers where they know that you value them, that you appreciate them, and that you, appreciate their business can go a long way in having them bring you more business. So rather than kind of looking outside the, your existing ecosystem, let me say, for new customers, sometimes your time could be better leveraged spent nurturing your existing ones for new business.
Definitely a value add there, Scott, because, I remember looking at statistics when I used to work at Salesforce. We were looking at what does it cost to actually acquire a new customer versus maintain happy ones that will give you referrals. And I remember the statistic at that point being roughly around 4 times the amount it would cost to get a new customer than it would to keep the existing ones happy, which would obviously lead to referrals, like you mentioned. So a very important point to notice. And, one of the things that I wanted to ask you, or that I wanted to touch on, is, this whole idea of, let's say that there's someone that they have a relationship, they already have they feel like they have a great relationship, they feel like they're great at nurturing their customers, they feel like they're doing everything good. What's one thing that those people then could do maybe a step better, or what's one way we could take it a step further that would make that relationship better? Because now there's maintenance and then there's getting better.
Yeah.
And for those that want to get it even better, they think it's okay right now, it's not bad, but how do we make it even better?
Yeah, well, I think the thing I would say, which might be a little counterintuitive to actually make it better, but ask them for something. Okay, if they're your existing customers and you're just delivering value and exceeding their expectations, their natural tendency is going to want to give back. And so when you actually are willing to ask them for something, and it's not necessarily, it might not necessarily look like, oh, buy more of my product, though it could, right? But it could just be as simple as, hey, I'm looking for some more existing clients. Who do you know that would be interested in achieving the results that you've achieved? And if you're someone, again, where people want to take the steps, you're delivering on the expectations, and it's got a net positive results. People are going to feel good about themselves to recommend you to someone in their life. So the thing that I would say to make it even better is a bit counterintuitive, but ask them for something, because it's actually going to deepen the relationship.
Thank you for saying that, Scott, because when you said that, at first I was like, what? And then I was like, well, no, but that makes sense. That's actually very, when we study psychology, you're absolutely right. When you ask people for something, they're going to want to, reciprocate that or give some sort of answer. And then, if you help them in some way, they're going to want to help you back in some way. And so as you said that, it was just kind of, it hit the nail on the head. You're right. A lot of us don't think about it that way. It almost seems like it's in reverse, but it actually could be an effective way to start strengthening and building and making that relationship even better.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the other thing is that, with a lot of customers as well, especially long-term customers, I've got clients that I've been, working with for, years essentially. And, they love working with me, and it's just gotten to a point where I'm just like, okay, well, you say when it's time to stop now. Okay. Like, I'm going to stop asking you when it's time to stop, and you just tell me when you're ready to stop. And, they never do. But I don't have a relationship with them anymore like they're customers. We've kind of transitioned from that now. It's something deeper. And so I say that because, eventually there'll come a point in time where, if you're working with someone long enough, and, maybe it's 3 months, maybe it's, 4 months, maybe it's 2 months, maybe it's a month, who knows, that's different for every customer. But there'll come a point in time where I think, they are a customer, but your relationship is going to evolve past, client, business owner, delivering service.
You just hit the nail on the head there again, Scott. I want to sort of transition to recapping some of these things, and what you said made so much sense to me. It's that your customers are not really even your clients anymore. Yes, they're your clients, just you're receiving money from them, but the relationship, the ideal relationship that you want to have as a business owner is where they are your friends, where you consider them like your friends. And wouldn't you know what's important to a close friend? You would know about your close friend, what they value, what's important to them, what they want, how you can help them, because that relationship would be that much deeper, and there'd be no resistance in trying to get that information out, because you would share that with your closest friends. Those are the people that you confide in. And so I like how you took it from the beginning of this episode, where you're like, okay, well, this is how you could start to make your relationship deeper. This is how you can maintain it, and this is how you can make it better. And so I wanted to recap on a few things. I'm just going to say a few things out and kind of took away what I took away, because I wrote some notes. And so for everyone listening, one of the things that that we touched on is, okay, well, if we're going to build our relationship with our ideal customers to find out how we can get them to choose to buy what we're selling, we need to really know what we want from that relationship in the long run, because it's not just about starting the relationship and getting the sale. It's how do we continue to make them happy and deliver on what we promise to them. And then going into expectations, right? What can they expect from our product or service so that they know whether it makes the right choice for them to buy, and also that we can actually deliver it. And when we deliver what we promise and we have happy customers, we get more referrals. And the same thing goes with relationships as well. And we continue to provide value throughout those relationships. The more value that we provide, the more referrals that we get. And then there's that whole component of, okay, but let's not get away from the already existing customers we have. Ask them what they want, what's important to them, because again, especially in the early stages, you're going to get a lot of your business from referrals. And we both know that it's more costly to acquire new business through marketing and sales than it is to keep our existing customers happy and have them send over a referral. And then we talked about how we can make the relationship better. And you talked about asking them for something. It seems counterintuitive, but when you ask someone for something, they feel like to reciprocate and give something back. And then taking it to the final step where it's like your customers and clients, you've built such a relationship with them that they're not even looked at as customers and clients, but they're looked at as friends, someone that you would like to have interactions with, not just about the money. And when we get to that point, that's when it's so easy to run a business. And when we can have that end goal in mind and see the whole funnel, see the whole picture of ultimately where we want to go in, well, then we can see how relationships not only help our business, but how having a better relationship with our friends and our families and transitioning that same sort of model there will improve every aspect of our life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, Scott, is there anything that you wanted to add to that, or anything else you think that the audience should know before we cap off the episode?
Yeah. The thing that I would also add is, for all the business owners out there, your most important relationship is with your partner. And, I'll say this, and I don't even necessarily understand it, but when my relationship with my wife is, working and in a great place, magic happens in my business. A perfect example is, just the other day, actually, my wife and I have, we like to, really do a lot of work on our relationship. And, this past weekend was, kind of a bit of turmoil that we had to face, but we literally went to work on it until it was resolved and both parties were happy. And I literally woke up to an email in my inbox from a guy that I'd never heard of going, "Hey, I want to hire you as my coach." And I don't want, and I was like, "Oh," I responded and I was like, "Oh, great, like let's get on a call and see if it makes sense." And he was like, no, like, I don't want a sales call. I just want to pay you money right now. And when can we start?
Well, that's awesome, man.
Yeah. And, like, it's a great result. And, like, for me, I'm just clear, like, when my space with my relationship, is clean, things happen, and it doesn't have to be, as hard, it doesn't have to be pushing water uphill or pushing that boulder uphill. Things can flow.
I love that. And thank you so much for sharing, because that just sort of paints a picture for us on what we can expect when everything else is correct in other areas of our life. Because I always like to make back this kind of, perception or explanation that, there's business, there's your health and your fitness, there's your relationships, there's your friends, there's other people, there's so many other aspects of our life. And if we're just focusing on one and these other areas are not getting watered, whether we realize it or not, they impact our performance in
Totally.
the others. And so you hit that nail on the head there again by giving us a real life example. So thank you so much for that. Before we cap off the episode, Scott, I just wanted to know, two things. One, I always like to give a piece of homework for my audience. So if you had one piece of homework to assign them today, what would that be? And then the second thing is, where can we find out more about you?
Yeah. So the first thing, the piece of homework that I would give the audience today, go have the best sex you've ever had in your entire life. Okay? That's, you know, with someone you love, you know, that's what I'll say as the piece of homework. And then the second thing is you can find more about me at www.mensrelationshipcoaching.com.
Awesome. Well, you guys heard it first. Again, I want to thank you, Scott, for joining us on the show and spending your valuable time with us to share your wealth of knowledge and experience. And thank you guys all for watching. You heard it from Scott. Number one piece of homework: go and have the best sex of your life with someone that you love. Okay, key thing, with someone that you love. And you can find out more about him. And Scott, I want you to say that one more time just to make sure everyone gets your website.
Yeah, www.mensrelationshipcoaching.com.
www.mensrelationshipcoaching.com. Again, want to thank you guys all for tuning in. If you have any questions, feel free to send me over an email. But if you guys want to tune in and make sure that you're kept up to date for each and every week's episode, go ahead to marcgaudett.com, subscribe, enter your email address and your name, and we'll keep you in tune each and every week with the topic of the training for the following week, as well as who the special guest will be on. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.